Hey guys, welcome to this video. We're going to talk about the FDCPA, Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, and debt validation. So the question is, collection agency cannot validate the debt. What happens next? So let's make sure we know what we mean by validation. That's when you request proof that the debt is owed in the amount that's claimed. And you can do this sort of generally. You say, I dispute this debt, please validate it. But if you have specific issues, I would bring those up. So like if you say, I've never heard of this debt, well, you could still dispute it and request a general validation, but also say, and by the way, I've never heard of this credit card. I've never had a Lowe's credit card, or I've never had this student loan, or I've never had this car loan, whatever it is. Or maybe you recognize, yeah, I had that loan, but it was never $10,000, it was $2,000. Well, you could do that. So the more specific you can be, that's great. Also, my suggestion is make sure you dispute it in general and request general validation, but also specific validation. So if you do this within 30 days of what's called a 1692G letter, so that's when the debt collector sends you a letter, and usually it's in a paragraph. It says, you have 30 days to dispute this debt, 30 days to request validation. We'll get you the validation or the judgment. We'll get you the name and address of the creditor, all that sort of stuff. Then if you do that, then they have three possible moves when they get your validation letter. Number one, they do nothing. Just nothing. They get your letter, throw it away, and they don't validate it, but they do nothing. And that's something that, frankly, a lot of lawyers don't know about. And it can be confusing because, like, hey, I sent my validation letter in, and they told me I had 30 days to do it. I sent it in, and I never heard back from them. Well, as long as they do not collect, then that is an option. They can do nothing. Second option is they can validate the debt. And here's the way to think about validation. If you sort of give this very general, generic validation request, they can respond in a very general, generic way. But if you also do very specific requests, like, hey, the amount's wrong because 2 months ago on June the 1st, I did a check number 1234 for $500. Well, they can't just respond generically. They've got to go look for that. Did you do that check 1234 for $500 on June 1st? They've got to validate it more specifically. So to some extent, you control the level of detail they have to respond with. If we just keep it sort of general, generic, then they just respond general, generic. But if you also get detailed, then they have to respond in kind. So that's their second option, is validate. First is do nothing. Second is validate. Third is they get rid of the debt. So they send it back to the collector for the creditor, or they send it to a new collector. So they don't collect anymore. They also don't validate. That's a valid option for them. So they can do nothing, they can validate, or they can get rid of the debt. Well, what if they continue to collect, but they haven't validated the debt? Well, then we want to look at suing them. And we sue them under the FDCPA, that's section 1692, and we do it under multiple sections, but specifically section G, which is the whole validation thing. It's where they have to give you that disclaimer, tell you about your rights to request validation. And if you exercise your rights and they don't validate, but they sue you, or they collect, or they continue to call, continue to write, well, then you have a good lawsuit against them. And we'll talk probably here in the next few days about a case we had where we get the validation letter, my consumer does, and my client writes them a letter requesting validation, very specific as well as sort of general, and there's no response. And then we get sued. Well, we won that lawsuit, and then we filed a lawsuit against the debt collector because that's just a classic case of, I requested validation, you sued me. Obviously, that's continuing to collect here. So this can be a very powerful law. And if you're dealing with a debt collector that you sent a validation request to, remember we talked about this in video, do it certified mail, keep a signed copy, make it very clear and clean that you did this, and they continue to collect without validating, then you may very well have a very nice lawsuit against them. So thanks for watching this video. If you are in Alabama and want to get in touch with us, it's 205-879-2447 or alabamaconsumer.com. Okay, guys, have a great day. Bye-bye.